For most of the last half-century, Bill Cosby was one of the most respected people in show business. Comedian, actor, educator, game show host, and yes, America's dad. Those days are gone, but the body of work still exists. A quick Google search turned up an article from 2011 listing To My Brother Russell, Whom I Slept With as the greatest comedy album of all time. So we thought it would be fun to give it a listen. With only 40 minutes of jokes on the record, we had lots of time to talk about, other things in Cosby's career. So, pour yourself some rum and mix it with one of the products Cosby pitched, Coca-Cola. It's time for episode 41 of Toasting the Classics, To My Brother Russell, Whom I Slept With.
Take it away, Dave.
Are we back with Toasting the Classics again?
We are back with Toasting the Classics.
Is it the same day that it was the last time we did an episode of Toasting the Classics?
But it feels like it's further in the future than the last time.
It feels way further in the future.
Yeah.
Way further. At least 60 minutes into the future from the last
Exactly.
time. Toasting the Classics is the podcast where we take something people call a classic, we drink something that's inspired by that classic, and then we decide whether it's still a classic, whether it passes the gauntlet of the sharp intellectual wisdom of Clint, Lanier, and Dave McArthur.
Because between the two of us, we have like 3 decades of education. So
between the two of us, we add up to probably an average IQ.
Absolutely.
So I think that's all you need to judge
Right.
things. I mean, I think it's better that the common man is here judging whether things are classic than people in the academy.
Who are they?
People in the ivory tower
Elitists.
of academia.
Right.
Are we literally in the ivory? This building's not made of ivory.
Well, it is white.
Oh, there you go.
And
there you go.
So that helps.
Yeah, that does help.
suppose.
That does help. It reflects the sunlight. But that's
Right.
actually environmentally sound in this region. You want to reflect. You want that albedo up.
I think we're getting carried away before we even start. What are we doing today?
I don't know. I don't remember. We are going to talk today
About the best comedy album of all time.
according to Spin Magazine. Now, this was published in 2011, the thing that I looked up.
Okay.
I wanted to do a comedy album that was considered a great comedy album.
Okay.
So it was a list of 40.
Okay.
Bunch of them were things that a lot of it was old,
Mm-hmm.
and this is old. And that's, I think, that's going to be a big part of what we talk about today.
Right.
Not the biggest part. The elephant in the room is a little bit different than how old it is. But this album is called To My Brother Russell, Whom I Slept With.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the use of whom in the title. That tells you it's at least 50 years old.
Absolutely.
Nobody would drop whom
nobody
in
does
the
that
title
anymore.
of a comedy
Sure.
album today. That's just, you're already not funny. If you use grammar that proper,
Right.
I'm not laughing. Like if you know what a direct object is, it's not funny. But this is by Bill Cosby. And as some of you may know,
Who?
his reputation has been somewhat tarnished in the last 11 years since the Spin article came out.
Sullied even.
What's that?
Sullied?
Sullied, yeah, definitely. I think it's been sullied, and not sully like in a good way, like the guy who lands a plane on the East River.
No,
like
not
sully
that.
like the verb that
Not
means
Sully like Monsters, Inc., because that's a good
not
Sully.
sully like in Monsters Inc. Yeah, not John Goodman as a furry,
So
friendly
Sully
creature.
isn't like you
that-
stepped all over it and it,
Bill Cosby's name has really been, tarnished and sullied. They don't even capture the difference, the swing between where his name was when I was a kid
right.
as America's dad,
right.
and I loved this man.
Yeah.
This was not just the Cosby Show, but this is Picture Pages and Fat Albert.
Right.
This is someone that seemed like a relative, like a kindly relative.
Well, he was
like
America's dad,
America's
wasn't he?
dad. Those aren't just words. It really felt that way. It
Yeah.
felt like someone you could look up to. Like if we found out tomorrow that Bill Murray was involved in the Cambodian genocide while he was off of work from Saturday Night Live,
Yeah.
it wouldn't upset me as much as
I
what has
think
happened with
he'd be
Bill Cosby.
forgiven. I really
You
do.
think?
Because
You
Bill
think?
Murray, I think so.
Yeah. Well.
And plus Americans would be like,
Well,
where?
fair enough. Fair enough.
Where is that over by,
Yeah.
is it Southern California?
There
or-
was a film done about it, so they might know a little bit about it.
Yeah, I think it was released in TV, right?
yeah,
It was like
the Killing Fields.
early
That's in the
80s or
80s.
something
Yeah,
like
I think
that.
so, yeah.
But actually, I
We are
think
talking about genocide again. What
don't know.
what is in the
you
water
could take
today?
every man
Right.
in the world
Okay.
and they would fall somewhere in between the 2 shifts of Bill Cosby's life, where he is the greatest person in the world and he is the worst person in the world. Every man in the world
i.e.
is somewhere
a human
between
being could
there.
be like Christ or Satan.
Exactly.
Like that
Right.
kind
Yeah,
of swing.
pretty much.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. This is not a subtle difference
No.
in character and reputation. This is a
But let's talk about this for a minute.
Dramatic.
For a long time, Bill Cosby was unimpeachable, right? I mean, he was infallible, perhaps.
He was a controversial figure in African American studies and that sort of thing.
How so?
He often came out on the side of sort of against a lot of people that would consider themselves progressive in that movement. Now, he was very vocal, his civil rights take and stuff like that. I mean, he was the first African-American to win an Emmy Award, for instance. And when he accepted his third Emmy Award for lead actor, he got up and he said, this is just to show you that bigots, you don't matter.
Yeah.
And that's great. That's all terrific.
Right.
But later in his life, he came out against, I mean, like I said, he was controversial because I read a book by, I think his name is Michael Dyson, called Is Bill Cosby Right? And it was all about his
made the vacuum cleaner?
Yes, exactly.
Wow, he's a writer too.
He sucked up all the racism and put it in a bag and we threw it away.
Wow.
But it was all about his very conservative, kind of okay boomer stances on like what black people should be doing and what they should be teaching their kids and criticizing people who come from poor backgrounds and things like that. Because obviously we learned in this album, Cosby came from a poor background. He lived in the projects in Philadelphia when he was a kid. So he does have the credentials to talk about this. Okay, fair enough. But a lot of what he was saying as like a rich man in the 1990s and early 2000s came across as seeming like something a rich guy says. Not a white guy, which would be worse, but, a guy who's kind of forgetting some of the struggles that you go through. And there's a conflict because, oh my God, what is the guy's name? Cordell West? Okay, so he came out and supported Bill Cosby in this conversation. This is before any of this like Me Too times 1,000 stuff that went on with Cosby later, just with his stance on civil rights. And Cordell West came out and he was like, no, some of this is correct, so African-American families need to give their children better values, and he has a point here, and whatever. Anyway, this is like the conversation I had with my son. We listened to hip-hop, and one day, we're listening to it, and he says, you told me the N-word is the worst word in the English language. I was like, yes, it is. I was like, literally, you hear somebody use that word, you don't hang out with that person. He was like, but we're listening to this, and the African-American people in these songs, they use that word. And I was like, just taken aback for a second. I was like, let's just let that be a conversation black dads have with their black sons. You don't ever say that word. End of discussion. I was just like, that's not our business. That's somebody else's business.
Interesting.
There's a whole debate about it.
Sure.
As a little white boy, just know we don't say that.
Yeah.
It's not something we don't even repeat it in a song,
that's a tragically sad perspective on life, though.
But this conversation between Dyson and Cosby and Cordell West, as a white dude, I'm willing to just sit down with my popcorn and listen to it. I'm interested. It's fascinating.
So what about the conversation between Bill Cosby, Eddie Murphy?
About swear words? Yeah, that's a whole
and Richard Pryor.
I respect. It's a bit like
do people laugh when you say that? Yeah. Well, then tell Bill to have a coconut smile and shut the up,
Yeah, exactly.
That whole thing.
I was listening to his language in this album, actually, which is he's a little more, I don't know how to describe it. He's a younger man.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, Jack. He keeps using it like Jack. He sounds a lot more colloquial.
This album was 68, is that
68,
right? Yeah, so 68. So he must have been like 23, 24, something like that.
No, he's born 37.
Oh,
he's 31 years old
31
in
years old.
1968. I mean, by my math, I think that's right. But
well, he was, what's interesting is he was using, the phrases of the age.
He was.
Jack, jive, dig this, which I say that stuff all the time. I love that.
I mean, if you need translation, I do speak jive.
Do you speak jive?
Yes. By the way, totally inappropriate joke for today.
Burn don't get no help.
Still one of the funniest. Having what's her name? Florence Henderson. Right? Having her say that.
How have we not done Airplane, by the way?
I don't know. That'd be fun because that would be really interesting. Whether that stands.
Maybe that'll be like our one thing we never do. Yeah, we'll always talk about it, but we'll never do it.
Well, you know what we've never touched is the Star Wars films. I've always thought, those are so like that's so plowed. That ground is very plowed over.
Well, you'd have to start with episode 1.
That's actually not. You have to do it Yoda fashion, starting with 4 and then jumping to
back.
1.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
In any case, back to Bill Cosby.
We have a drink for today.
Oh, we do.
By the way.
Wait, does this involve Quaaludes? What? I had to. Come on. Why are there pills at the bottom of my glass?
What exactly is a funky cold Medina?
I don't know.
I'm not really sure, but
why
anyway.
Why is that bubbling in my glass?
Yeah, obviously I thought of something like that, but
yeah.
Okay. We shoot from the hip on this podcast.
Sure.
We say what we really mean, but even with that in mind, I do not want to be too flip and too loose about making fun of what happened. The things that he's accused of, and we'll talk about a little more in the future, but in my opinion,
well, we can make fun of him.
Is not like what happened to Aziz Ansari or Louis C.K.
Actually,
I
was actually going to mention that. I wouldn't call this Me Too. Me Too.
No, this is worse.
Me
this
Too.
is much worse.
Me Too has come to mean.
This is crime. This is,
Me Too has come to mean. Well, the problem with when you do hashtag Me Too is you are putting everything into one bucket, which is not at all equal.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm not saying any of it is decent behavior.
Well, it's a lot
right?
like the cases about police brutality.
Right.
These are individual happenings.
What Bill Cosby did was not Me Too. Bill Cosby did. It was discussing criminal behavior.
It's much worse. And frankly, if I was going to admit my biases here, it would be I would have given him a lot of credit. As America's dad and someone who I've known my whole not known obviously, but someone who's been in my mind as a good person my whole life. Right. My biases would run towards favoring him.
Yeah.
100%. The things he admitted in court are worse than almost any of the Me Too stuff that I've heard about. I mean, using drugs with women and stuff like that, it's totally inexcusable.
Yeah.
I don't see any other way.
Drugging women is different than using drugs with women is different.
So some of the things that he talked about that gave it a little bit of a question is he was providing them with Quaaludes. Yeah. And I'm like, did they know they were being provided? Right. So he admitted to giving it to them.
But I think, this is the elephant in the room, right? Actually, what drink do we have?
What drink are we doing? So obviously what I wanted to do after a little bit of reflection, after getting rid of the idea of going with something completely inappropriate that was a joke about something that's not funny and we shouldn't joke about, I thought of doing Jello shots.
You want to take the Jello shots?
Pudding pop. Thought about doing Jello shots.
Yeah.
And I realized... So I thought about it, and I was like, I don't really go to the trouble of making Jello shots. And then I was thinking, and you said the same thing. I was like, I think they make them pre-made. Yeah. But as I was getting ready for the show, I realized I'm gonna have to drive all the way across town. There's one liquor store in town. As we've
this guy's moving to New York City.
As we've kvetched about many times, there's just the one liquor store in town, and I would have had to drive all the way across town. Wasn't sure they'd even have it, and then I realized, really, the great truth. Jello shots suck. I'm not an 18-year-old kid. Yeah. I don't want a Jello shot.
21-year-old kid.
How are we going to sip a Jello shot and have a conversation? What are we going to have? You're going to do a shot? Well, we did do the car bombs.
Well, we
did do the car bombs one time, but
wasn't there a movie where somebody snorted Jello?
That sounds
Animal House.
It's Better Off Dead.
Better Off Dead.
Booger, the guy, the actor that plays
Jello.
Booger, is snorting Jello.
That's right, because he can't get real stuff there.
Yeah.
I can't get.
My brother makes this monster eggnog.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
No, so I was just like, I'm not going to drive across town on the 20% chance they have Jello shots to get something I don't even like. So what I realized is I thought about, well, that was based on his advertising.
Sure.
Right? He's a very famous man, America's dad. He would advertise anything, you'd buy it. You'd be like, if Bill Cosby says I should do it, I should do it.
He wears funny sweaters.
This is how far this man has come in the way that we esteem him.
Yeah.
Is that I would have, if Bill Cosby says do it. He's a good guy. So he also pitched Coca-Cola.
Very good.
Famously.
Cool.
I think they won some Clios for doing Coca-Cola ads with Bill Cosby. Yeah. So what I did is I just did rum and Coke. I had rum.
You take the rum and you put it in the Coke.
Take the lime and the Coca-Cola and you drink them both up.
If you put a lime in it, it's called a Cuba Libre.
Cuba Libre. Oh, is that only if it has a lime?
Yeah, that's supposedly what it is. They're the front man for Motorhead.
Lemmy Kilmister?
Lemmy Kilmister. So they're trying to there's this whole movement to try to get these the name of these changed to Lemmys. Give me a Lemmy. Because apparently he drank these all the time. And he died young. Oh,
yeah, that's weird.
Figured.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, right. Now, I'm glad that you're using a real Coke. Did you know that if you get a...
I don't drink regular Coke.
You drink what?
Diet Coke.
Did
all
you know
the time.
that Diet Coke actually speeds the alcohol to your blood system?
Well, then what am I thinking with this regular Coke BS?
Exactly, right?
But
no, that's what I was saying. It's a good thing that you're...
I treat myself to a regular Coca-Cola maybe 2 or 3 times a year, and I really enjoy it. There's a book...
Did you ever do peanuts and Coke?
Like eat peanuts? You don't put the peanuts
Yeah, you put the peanuts in the Coke.
That's nasty.
Try it sometime.
All right.
There's a whole movement. There's a whole movement of people that do that.
Bill Cosby in 1989 tells me to do that, I'll do it.
He would have done it.
No.
You put the peanuts in the Coke.
Don't. There was a book, Stephen King book, The Gunslinger. I don't know if you've read these. One of them, he goes into the body of somebody living in the 1980s. He's on an airplane, and the character is a heroin addict. And the gunslinger jumps in this guy's body, and he just has like a glass of Coke on an airplane, and he takes a sip of it, and he's like, in a society where such a wonder as this sugary, bubbly beverages, why would anyone need heroin?
Right.
And ever since then, I've always been like, yeah, having a glass of Coke with some ice in it is really like a wonder of modern civilization.
What you're gonna miss moving? You might be able to get it. Yeah, you should be able to get it up there.
Mexican Coke.
Mexican Coke.
You know what's funny? We keep talking about this as a family. We're like, oh, we're not going to be able to get Mexican food anymore. And I'm like, that's the funny thing is we totally will.
Yeah.
You literally can get anything in New York.
Yeah, you really can.
And the funny thing is like we have terrific Tex-Mex norteño cuisine here, right? But you can't get stuff from the rest of Mexico in Las Cruces. You get great like food from the regions that border us.
stuff doesn't exist yet.
In New York, I literally could look up any Mexican state and pick a restaurant and go there.
There's actually a restaurant over there.
There's a place. There's a Michoacan place here in town that's a little different.
In New York, there's a place run by a couple people from Albuquerque, I think, and they ship in the green chili from Hatch, and they do the full New Mexican green.
There we go. We're going to go there all the time. Ooh,
Cheers.
that's very coconutty. Interesting. So I've got Captain Morgan spiced rum. I guess that's where the sort of vanilla coconutty taste is coming from.
Good stuff.
And just a 1 liter bottle of Coca-Cola. A bunch of ice in a Cincinnati Bengals container that my son was obsessed with the Bengals for like 6 weeks.
Was he happy that they won?
I have not watched any football. My football team. My football team, which is called Football Team, that's how creative it is, lost to the powers of darkness and Mordor like 75-8.
Oh, Dallas.
A couple weeks ago. Yeah, Dallas. Right. Dallas. Yeah, that's what I meant.
The team that shall not be named?
Right. Yes. All creatures of good and neutral alignment do not like this team. So.
Right. You know who played football? Bill Cosby.
And basketball.
And baseball.
And baseball. According to
ran
this,
track.
yeah,
And
that's right.
He was actually kind of telling him, he had a really interesting background. He was in the Navy, corpsman in the Navy, which
was he corpsman?
Which I didn't know about. He served like 4 years, 56 to 60. Never finished high school. Got a GED after the Navy. Went to Temple University.
Yep.
Didn't finish that, but then got a master's and a PhD. Did you know that?
Well, he got his degree for life experience.
For his bachelor's was.
That's.
But he has a legitimate PhD.
Yeah, I think that's
like
true.
a real one. He wrote a dissertation.
Yeah, well, his Fat Albert was his dissertation.
Yeah, his dissertation was Fat Albert.
Yeah.
But, because they talked...
Which is like, honestly, if somebody came in to my college and they wanted to get a degree for that, it'd be like, okay, that's awesome. Like the fact that you actually got that out
for
there.
For early childhood education.
And for me as a little white boy in the late 70s, early 80s, to see Fat Albert and to see like a group of black kids was just like...
I love that
and
show. I watch it all the time.
And to not have been thinking about it. But like, you weren't like thinking constantly, oh, these are black kids.
Yeah.
You were just... It's the characters.
No,
you
it's
like
just
these
funny.
characters.
I mean, it's just funny situations
and the fact that we were doing that was like so revolutionary.
And
we didn't know it, but like my grandparents, if
Yeah.
they walked in the room and saw me watching a cartoon with a bunch of black kids, they would have been like, "What is this?" To me, to see them portrayed as just like as the protagonists.
I always remember there were always poor kids. I was poor as can be. I grew up really. So these kids were poor just like I was, and they were urban. I mean, they were in Philadelphia. I was out in the country, but
Yeah, so he's from Philly. That's interesting. I have a big bias against Philly. Philly's probably on the East Coast my least favorite place.
Philly's a rough place.
It's rough, but also the people are
rough.
I went to let's just say I went to a Nationals game one time with my 7-year-old little girl. She was wearing her Redskins jersey. And we're walking around Phillies Nats, and this guy, grown man, great big fat drunken Philadelphia fan, points at my little girl, my 7-year-old, and says, "You know the Redskins suck, don't you?" I'm like, "What are you doing, man?
Yeah.
You're not even in your home ballpark being like that."
Trying to be funny. Yeah, they're terrible.
Yelling, you feel like a tough guy yelling at a tiny little kid.
Phillies fans threw snowballs at Santa.
I know.
They're, all the rest of the stuff.
I know.
I wouldn't have thought of Bill Cosby as being from Philadelphia. I always thought that he was from the South somewhere for some reason.
Well, in a way, almost all African Americans are, right?
Well,
almost everybody. When you think of your stereotypical guy from Detroit or from Philly,
there's a great migration.
Their grandparents came from
but I mean,
from
like
the South,
or
in his case, probably his parents.
Yeah,
he's 1937. His parents are probably from the South. Maybe his grandparents. You're talking about a massive influx of people from the South, and there's a lot of Southern culture. A lot of the things that people say are like stereotypical African American foods.
Right.
Are just things people in the South eat. Right. Like it's just a lot of the ways people talk. When I was growing up, if anybody said y'all, that would have been somebody black where I grew up. Yeah, there's no way. Nobody in Northern Virginia and D.C. who was not African American would have said y'all.
We're so close to Texas here.
This is y'all country.
Yeah, this is y'all country.
People say y'all here, absolutely. Yeah, y'all is a big geographical marker.
It is.
And the only reason anybody north of the north of, I don't know, like North Carolina would say y'all is because they're
Y'all is actually very,
ancestors
very
from the
useful nowadays. I got in trouble.
Absolutely it is. We say you guys.
I didn't get in trouble.
We say you guys.
But see, you guys.
You guys sounds gendered.
We'll
I
get
know,
you in
it's
trouble.
problematic. Yeah, I know.
Especially when you're teaching a class.
Yeah, no.
Like I did.
You guys is what we used when I was growing up. And then there's in like New York City, you can say yous.
Yeah, use.
Use. Sometimes you do hear that. And then in Pittsburgh, where we lived, it's yins. And yins fills the same spot as y'all.
Yeah.
So there are a couple of northern options.
Sure.
I do say use sometimes, but it's kind of tongue in cheek. I'd be like, if you, hey, you want to come with us? Like, you know, like, it sounds really weird. You guys is what I used as a kid. That was our second person plural was you guys.
I use that quite a bit up until the campus movement towards
gendered. It's not gendered.
Well,
the way I use it is second person plural. There's nothing gendered
Well.
about it. Did you laugh a lot while you were listening to this?
You know, I laughed when he finally got to the story about his, he and his brother sharing the.
Right.
I did start laughing. How about you?
I was pretty sober.
Were you?
I was pretty sober all the way through.
I was sober too, but I
was trying to imagine watching him.
But see,
I think it would have been so much better to see his gesticulations.
You had a 10-year-old younger brother, right? He was like 10 years younger than you or something like that?
Yes.
My brother and I were 3 years apart.
Right.
We lived in the same room.
Right.
We had a lot of that stuff.
Very different relationship between me and my brother.
Hey, what? Quit talking. You know, that whole thing. So the premise is he and his brother share a bed.
Right.
And it's like a 25-minute rant about.
It goes on for a long time.
Yeah, it's like 25 minutes about he and his brother sharing the bed, getting in a fight in the middle of the night. His dad coming to whip him.
It was all so true to me. It all seemed. I mean, I remember being little. Not so much. I didn't like have a little brother that I shared a bed with, but like I'd have sleepovers with a friend, and you'd be sitting there and you'd be like, you know, hit the guy, and then the dad comes in and yells. It same thing, right? Yeah. It all seemed super true to me. It's all stuff I remember from being a kid, but it just wasn't tickling my funny bone. You know, I just wasn't laughing out loud. I don't know what it was. Maybe if I'd been able to see him, and maybe if let's get into this a little bit here, separating the artist from the art.
Okay.
The art has to be amazing. When someone's a really bad person, like when you see one of Hitler's paintings, they're really not that bad. It's not that bad of an artist, but everybody's like, this is terrible. This is the worst drawing of a building I've ever seen. It's like, it's not the best drawing of a building, but it's not that bad. It's competent, you know, it's competent. So because it's Hitler, you're like, it's crap.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like there's a interplay between the art and the artist there. And like when I listen to Thriller, I just listen to Thriller. Thriller slaps. That is a great album today. You just listen to it all the way through. There's 8 great songs.
So what you're saying is you're not listening to a pedophile.
I'm not hearing that it's a pedophile that wrote this album. I'm hearing this is a terrific album.
Right.
You know, because it's that good. And also because I knew it before I knew about him. So that's a better question. Is there anything I could be introduced to now, already knowing? Because like I've never heard of this album before.
Yeah,
I am familiar with his bit about tonsillitis. Have you ever heard that one?
No.
That's a long one. And there's like one about World War II and stuff like. There's some stuff I heard when I was a kid that I probably still think is funny. It may just ruin it to hear it for the first time.
Yeah,
I can't think of anything I've heard from Michael Jackson since I've known that he was a bad guy that I thought was awesome.
Right.
It's kind of hard to get rid of Beat It, though. Like
Bad and Thriller were
those are terrific albums.
Yeah, they are.
Those really are great albums. It's kind of hard to separate, but I didn't know that he was a bad person in any way at the time.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's anybody. Okay, here's a good example. Louis C.K. just put out an album.
Okay.
Just put out an album like a couple months ago.
Okay.
Listened to it. I was laughing, just like I always did at Louis C.K.'s stuff. He talks about his whole issue that he had. Well, first of all, his issue that he had is nowhere near what we're talking about with Cosby or Michael Jackson. So that's part of it. But it was also just funny. I was just laughing. This guy was great. He was one of my favorite comedians. It was really messed up that he got canceled, you know. Yeah. I don't know if I want to judge whether he should have been or not, but I missed his voice. He had a voice that I thought was an important satirical voice, like the job that comedy should do, which is pointing out the things that are dumb about society. And so we can all just laugh at him and be like, oh, yeah, you're right. That's really dumb. Like, why do we do that? You know, what is the deal with, whatever it is? And that was a valuable voice, and I missed that voice.
Right now I'm thinking of this Simpsons episode.
Okay.
Homer was watching Sinbad or some black comedian. He's like,
you're right, we're so lame.
He's like, black people are like this.
White people,
and the white people are like this. He's like, oh, you're right.
We're so lame. Yeah. I'm not in the 95th percentile for like quoting Simpsons. There's a lot of people out there who can really quote the.
Well, I'll say Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle,
Dave Chappelle
currently
is still funny.
He is currently
But Dave
controversial.
Dave Chappelle, when he first came out, was a brilliant comedic voice.
Yes.
I mean, brilliant comedic voice. Poking holes in like the ridiculous things we believe in and the ridiculous way we do things.
He's still doing that, though.
He's still doing it. I went to see him. He was in El Paso before COVID. I went to go see him down there. And he was funny. I was laughing.
Yeah.
But we missed 15 years of brilliant comedy by him dropping out.
Yeah.
Because you're not at the top of your game when you're in your 50s. He's still funny. Yeah. I still enjoyed his stuff, but it was like a sort of a shadow of what he was.
Have you seen his current special?
Yeah, I've watched everything he's done, yeah.
If you watch it, and what I don't get about
He needs to drop that trans thing. He needs to just walk away.
Why?
He needs to just walk away.
Why?
He just sounds like an old guy.
But he's not saying anything terrible.
No, he's not. He's not. But it's beneath him. It's
no,
beneath his. It's beneath his.
He's not. He is not going to do it.
Yeah.
He's not going to do it.
I know he's not. But
unless until those people that are criticizing him actually listen to it.
It's not even so much. I'm not that offended by the things he's saying about it. I don't think I think that his kind of gender realism is probably more what most people think on that issue. Like, why would I hate on this person who's trans? They're just a person. Why would I? I wasn't raised to behave like that. But at the same time, I think most people have an innate feeling that like actually gender's kind of real. Yes, there are people that have issues with it, but there's not that many people that have issues with it.
Right.
And I think that by talking about that so much, I don't really disagree with anything he's saying, but he comes across as defensive. And when you're defensive, it's not that funny.
I'm trying. I thought it was funny, but I thought
some of the things he said, but
I'm trying to give an example to.
It's taking me out of the comedy,
I was trying to give an example of what you were talking about. I think you're trying to make the point about separating the person from their art.
Right.
And with Bill Cosby, this art is not good enough to do that.
No.
I think that's what you're trying to say.
That's what I'm getting at. This is not funny enough.
Yeah.
This is like, Jim Gaffigan?
Yeah.
Comedian? It's a lot like him, right? A lot of family-oriented material. Jim Gaffigan's more modern. He's funnier.
Right.
Because he's from now.
Oh, yeah.
So he was being I just listened to his recent special. He was really kind of being a little more controversial than he usually is. He was just like saying some things you could tell he was kind of like winking at you, like, go ahead, like say something about it. I know it's 2021.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Like, what are you gonna do? Not what are you gonna do, but like, please.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say because I think comedians have to be able to say what they're gonna say. You really do. It's an important thing in society to have comedians be able to speak up,
right,
and sometimes be a little offensive, and push the boundaries. I don't think we want to shut that down. I think that would be very, very bad for society. I mean, no, we don't have to necessarily all be like Joe Rogan, be like offensive for no reason, but like you should be able to trip over the line of being offensive. Like Louis C.K., anybody that was surprised by what Louis C.K. didn't listen to Louis C.K.
Right.
Louis C.K. is that guy.
Yeah.
His comedy is that guy. That's the way he is. And the thing he was doing, which I'm not going to talk about.
I was about to say, do you want to say what he did?
No, I don't, because I have daughters and, no.
Yeah, potted plants.
Anyway, Louis C.K., a great deal of his persona and a lot of his comedy was about kinky sexuality.
Right.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised that was going on in the back room. The Bill Cosby thing, his whole shtick is being America's dad and like this funny guy.
That's why
this stuff is completely diametrically opposed.
That's why it was such a problem for him.
Right.
Because he was such a
also it was criminal conduct.
Well, that too. Problem, but I mean, he was such a holier than thou type of person, right?
He never came across them. Yes. Going back to the African American culture issue, that was holier.
Yeah, and I think that's what.
But I never saw him that way. But I just saw him as being.
I think a lot of people,
a better version of.
Because he's pointing at them and saying, "You guys are the problem with the where we are." Right.
Pretty hard to be sanctimonious. From
exactly
this
right,
yes,
and this whole time,
that's
he was carrying on what he was doing, right? So, but the thing is, like, I don't know if he was ever that funny. I mean, he was a stand-up.
Do you remember we talked about Dane Cook? Oh, we were talking about Steve Martin, and is Steve Martin funny?
Right. Uh-huh.
And a lot of it was like, you like Steve Martin, right? And he's very charismatic, and he'd sort of bowl you over with this physicality of his comedy, and you'd laugh. And Bill Cosby, when you're watching The Cosby Show, a lot of it was he was charismatic, he was likable, he was very physical with his comedy, so you'd be on board. You'd laugh. You'd just enjoy sitting down and watching Bill Cosby talk to you for a little bit. I think that if you lose that, if that illusion is pierced, then it's a problem. All of a sudden, you're not funny at all. I was trying to imagine him doing this 25-minute bit about him and his brother in the bed, and the dad and stuff like that. And imagine sitting in the audience loving Bill Cosby. Thinking of Bill Cosby as not only just like a funny guy, but like an admirable figure, charismatic figure, which he totally was, and he was a huge part. He was a huge, like, I mean, I would say, I don't know about civil rights icon, but being at the forefront when African Americans are moving into the limelight in America, that must have been super important to people at the time. That would have been a big deal. You just love this guy, and you'd just laugh your butt off because you just like the guy.
Yeah, but he leveraged that, whatever success he had in comedy, to do other stuff, to get in TV and to produce movies and all.
What would have been his first thing?
Stuff.
Was stand-up his first thing?
Stand-up was his first thing, but what I'm saying is, like, I don't know how funny he was as a stand-up. But
this is not his best work.
But
I don't think.
However funny he was, he leveraged it into this other stuff that made him ultra successful, like the Cosby Show from the '80s, I Spy, Fat Albert, Kids Say the Darndest Thing. Remember those?
Yep.
I mean, he had all these other projects that weren't stand-up, and so he'd do stand-up specials every now and then, and people would go because he was Bill Cosby, and people would probably laugh because he was Bill Cosby.
Yes.
Like George Carlin never made a sitcom.
Yeah, he did.
Did he?
He did.
Oh.
I don't remember what it was, but I do remember seeing him. It failed. Whatever it was did not do well. But I remember seeing him.
Well, he's not a sitcom guy.
No,
I mean, he's
no,
a stand-up.
No.
Like I guess to me, there's a difference between like a legitimate stand-up and a comedian who then does other stuff. He didn't become famous as a comedian, is what I'm saying. He became famous as America's dad for doing Kids Say the Darndest Things, Fat Albert, Cosby Show.
I think the first thing he was famous for was I Spy.
No, well,
right? I mean, that's in the mid '60s, right?
Big fame. You're right, but he got that gig from doing stand-up.
Yeah, I think so.
Right?
Because they said this one, '68, is his 8th album.
So what I'm trying. I guess what I'm trying to say is like I don't know if you don't think of stand-up comedy when you say Bill Cosby, stand-up comedian. You don't do that.
My dad had
George
his records.
Carlin. Yeah, I know.
Same with George Carlin. My dad had the records.
At one time he was.
At one time
he was, but that's not what I'm saying. Is that's not what he became known for. If you ask the average person, they'd say the Cosby Show or some other stuff, right?
Right.
Because he produced and he wrote and he did TV. And
if you'd have so I always had this positive impression of him through my whole life, from the comedy albums when I was little, and then the TV show, and then just everything. He was always like a present, positive impression person. If you'd have asked me as an adult, do you really think this guy is as good as he seems? I would have been like, no, probably not. Don't ever meet your heroes, right? Like real people are real people. But at the same time, I would have never guessed this is messed up.
Yeah.
Stuff that he was doing is like not normal. It's like somebody must have done something to him as a child or something. This is somebody with a problem. Like a dark problem. Like this is not
the stuff he was doing is one step above murder. I mean, it really was. It was like
one step below murder.
Well,
like not as bad as murder.
Yeah, murder would be on the bottom of the worst.
In terms of how good it is, it's above murder. Yes.
Well, I guess it depends on where you put the scale.
Right.
I put murder.
How bad?
Yeah.
How bad is
I
this?
guess
It's below murder. How good it is, it's above murder. Right.
Murder at the top of the list for bad things, and the bottom of the list for. But
parking tickets.
We're the same place. Just reverse the scales. But anyway, it's still like sociopathic behavior. Like he completely cannot identify. He has no empathy at all for the people that he did this to.
Doesn't sound like it.
And he was never apologetic about any of it. I didn't do anything wrong.
And it's not a question of a different time.
Yeah, I mean, this is just not something you do to other people, right?
No.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know where that comes from.
He had a stand-up bit. You want to hear the creepiest thing? Huh. He had a stand-up bit about Spanish Fly and about the idea of putting something in a girl's drink and getting her to do whatever you want. And he's like, this is amazing. And everybody's just laughing along. And I'm like, what in the hell?
Well, they're laughing along because they don't think that he's actually doing it in his spare time.
No. I think they were laughing along because people in the 60s, men in the 60s, would have been like, whatever you got to do.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe
I don't know. I can't get in their heads. I don't understand. But I'm like...
I don't either, but I don't think
how
to the
could you
extent
ever be okay with that?
He made it a hobby. I mean, he was an enthusiast, we might call him,
right.
Other people, I remember reading, I think in comic books they had like, they'd have the X-ray glasses, and I think there was like Spanish Fly, like advertisements.
You mean at the back where the flying car?
Yes.
I always wanted to buy the flying car.
And like the back of that.
The 90-pound weekly.
And
all
all those things.
those
and I remember like when I was a little kid, I was like, I don't know what that is. And then
Was that in there?
yeah, I think
man.
like Spanish Fly or something. There's some just stupid stuff. X-ray glasses, and you'd see like the girl. In the bikini. You watch Mad Men, right? Mm-hmm. There were a couple of episodes where they slipped stuff in drinks, weren't there?
I don't know. They definitely drink a lot.
They drank a ton.
Yeah.
And they would get girls drunk. And
Right.
I don't know. I think there's also the 70s drug culture was a lot different than now. I mean, recreational drug use was.
I think it was new. And
I think pills were like.
I think there weren't the same cultural rules about it because it was new. It was like everybody was experimenting and like, what are we going to do here? And I was reading a thing about, you know how.
And I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying
there's
that
all these guys on the Hall of Fame ballot, right?
Yeah.
Who did steroids. So everybody's like, they can't be in the Hall of Fame because of steroids. And it's like, okay, I kind of get that. But, you know, everybody in the 60s and 70s was doing greenies in order to stay awake and play baseball.
Right.
And they're all in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
So, you know?
Yeah.
It's not like there was one guy doing steroids. Everybody was doing steroids.
And I think that's a different, that's, you know, the equivocation like that is a bit different. I mean, I don't know how many guys are slipping stuff into girls' drinks,
this
raping
is not.
them. But
I was just talking about the drug culture. Of the 70s.
No,
There's nothing okay about that.
No. I get that. He took it from a place where everybody was doing something. Everybody was like cool and relaxed and chill about it. And he kept doing it because he was doing it up into the 90s. The 1990s.
Oh, into the 2000s. Yeah. I think the last.
But, you know, the thing about it was he was.
Definitely well into the 90s.
He was a complete baller. He really was. Because he had the, you know, he was a comedian, he had the shows, everything else. But when you get like a formula team, a formula like 500, like your own team, when you sponsor a team, like Paul Newman, that's pretty bad.
Bill Cosby had a Formula One? Oh,
Formula, yeah. Bill Cosby had a Formula. He actually sponsored the first black Formula driver. Willie T. Ribbs, though, was the first black American like Formula 500 race car driver. Okay. And he was sponsored by Bill Cosby. I mean, he was on Bill Cosby's race team. And I mean, when you have your own race team, your own production company, your own music company,
that's a good indicator. You got some cash. Yeah.
Right. He had a lot of tragedy though. Like his son was mugged and shot for his Rolex.
I remember that.
On the side of the road.
His daughter died real young too.
His daughter died real young. His son, if I remember correctly, so his son also had a PhD in education, and was like early childhood education, and was doing stuff with the company, and just got like mugged by some random guy on the side of the road for his watch.
It was like his car broke down?
His car broke down, and like some Russian national gangster in L.A. Stopped, shot him, took his watch, and split. You know,
really?
That was it. Yeah.
I didn't know it was a Russian
Totally random.
That's messed
totally
up.
random.
Well, I'm here to tell you.
It'd be messed up if it wasn't a Russian.
I'm here to tell you,
be honest.
Russians can be sketchy.
Yeah, can they?
Yeah,
all of them.
Yeah. From personal experience, I can tell you sometimes.
So does Alex? Do your kids? I shouldn't say their names, but do your kids hold dual citizenships?
No, my wife's American citizen. She was came here when she was a little tiny kid as a
refugee.
Yeah,
but she could still be Russian citizen.
No.
I have friends.
First of all, she's not Russian. She's Ukrainian. She would be Ukrainian.
Okay.
And she left when it was still the Soviet Union, so she would be stateless. So
I see. Yeah.
She just is 100%.
Okay.
100% naturalized American citizen because she came here as a little kid, as a refugee, which is a really fast track to citizenship. Anyway. No, kids are not. I don't know. Maybe if they went there, but see, the problem was, they'd go there and they'd be like, "We'd like to be Ukrainian." He'd be like, "Sorry, you're a Jew."
Really?
They wouldn't want them. Like,
really?
That's why they came here. That's why her family came here, is because they didn't want Jewish people, basically. So
I had no idea.
So speaking of different times, there's a lot of violence, interfamily violence. And Bill Cosby would allude to it as he got older, even on The Cosby Show. You remember there's like a famous speech where he's like, "I brought you into this world, I'll take you out."
Well,
his dad comes in there and he's talking about that belt.
Yeah, I was always waiting for the "I can make another one just like you."
Right.
You know, right? Because that was kind of a famous line from, the belt. You know, it would lift the skin right off your body.
Right.
And stuff.
Which it never got used, apparently.
That's the thing. It never got used. And that is a difference.
So my grandpa.
That is a difference.
My grandpa apparently used to belt my dad like it was a thing. Like he had three sons, and they were all trouble. My dad, the least of the three, I would say. So he was a man and he was a great big boxing policeman. He would take the belt to the boys. You know. So one of my dad's favorite stories is he figured out he'd get in trouble, and his dad would be like, "Give me your belt," you know. So he was like, he just was walking around with his pants falling down all the time. Because if he got in trouble,
I was going to say,
his dad would be
like
like,
a
give me your
little
belt. He'd be
rope.
like, I'm not wearing a belt.
Or he had like a little wimpy rope or something like
Yeah,
that. Piece of yarn.
So apparently he got in trouble one time. My grandfather thought that was so funny that he did that he just got away with whatever it was.
That's great.
You know.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I got beat a couple times, a few times. You know,
I got
for doing stupid
slapped
stuff.
once in the mall.
Really?
And I was like 14. I was not like a little kid.
Yeah.
I said something lippy to my mom, and boom, right across the
I
cheek.
deserve to be slapped.
And
My mom never slapped me,
yeah,
but
I didn't have any problem. I wasn't like, going to the cops or anything. I was like, yeah, I earned that one.
Yeah.
I don't know I don't remember what I said,
right.
but it was okay.
I got spanked in elementary school. Back when they did, I got
by the
paddled,
teacher.
Paddled by the principal. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's some New Mexico standard. We didn't do that. That would have been.
Yeah, that was
So
1970s
what I did,
standards.
there was this one substitute teacher who generally was like okay, but if you mess with her, she came over and she put her 2 fingernails into my ear and pulled me across the room.
Oh.
But
Ouch.
I'm moving on my own volition
Yeah.
because I don't want my ear ripped off.
Absolutely.
But she had her fingernails into my ear, and I remember being like,
Is this okay?
It was the same thing as I said about my mom. I was like, I deserve this, but I don't think this is okay.
Yeah.
Like, I think this
Is this supposed to be happening?
I was like, I'm not going to argue with you here because I do
Right.
deserve what you're doing, but like, you're not supposed to do this. And
But I will say, I think the thing that I was laughing at when I was listening to, the whole story about them sleeping in the same bed and everything is
right.
punching each other. It's just what they do. Because my brother and I were like that. 3 years apart, we fought all the time. I mean, constantly. He was always so much bigger than me, so he beat the crap out of me.
Sure.
All the time.
Sure.
And 9 times out of 10, just like his brother, I was asking for it. I'd be egging him on. I'd be touching him. Don't touch me. I'd do it.
Somebody was talking to me once about like how I view Israel and Palestine. Mm-hmm. And I'm always like, the way I've always looked at it is it's like a big brother and a little brother. Usually when you look at it, the Palestinians are the ones that are doing something that's causing the Israelis.
Right.
But it's like the Israelis are so much more powerful that
bigger.
you end up siding with the
Big
little brother. You're like
They get beat up.
yeah, little brother was being a total jerk. But then you came over and you like dropped bombs on their houses.
You
So
leveled
you're like,
their city. Yeah.
This wasn't really fair. This is like you're sitting in the back seat and there's a line across the back seat and America's in the front driving the car. And every once in a while, Palestinians are reaching over going like,
They turn around and
you can't
slap
touch
them.
me. I'm on your side. I'm on your side. I'm on your side. And then the Israelis turn around and punch him in the face and the Americans turn around and go, God damn it.
Yeah.
What are you
Knock it
doing
off.
back there?
Yeah, knock it off, right.
That's-
I will drive this off a cliff.
I will create the Third World War.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I used to get threatened with driving. I'll take this car and drive
I
it
will
off.
take
My
this-
stepmom
yeah,
used to
God.
threaten to drive the car off the cliff all the. We had no cliffs. There were no cliffs.
Yeah, where were you? You're in Virginia.
No, we're in Virginia.
Yeah.
It's flat, but
No,
I'll drive you into a semi-steep ravine would be the worst threat.
I think the thing about Bill Cosby, it's just it saddens me and it depresses me. More than anything else. I mean, it doesn't. And this is probably I have become so callous to life, man. I mean, stuff happens every day,
right,
all the time now, and I don't know if it's always happened. And I've often wondered that. You look at 2,000 years ago when people were literally savages and barbarians and putting axes into each other's heads and stuff like that.
Not everyone. Not if you're Greek.
Violence
If
always.
you're Greek or Chinese, you're good.
Then you had slaves. What I'm saying is violence always happened. The world's always been a terrible place. And we always think of ourselves as so much more evolved.
Okay.
Right? Truth is we're not. We're lousy humans. And there are those among us who cannot suppress.
But do you remember what I was saying about genocide in the last episode?
Oh yeah, we talked. Oh, when we were partying at my house, you were drunk, and you're saying,
no, this was here.
This is the best thing that ever happened to mankind.
No. I was saying that
time.
the reason why you differentiate genocide from like mass murder is that genocide is a thing that lurks in the human psyche. It's these things that we have to guard against.
Oh, you want to get rid of the other.
They're deep in our barbarian soul.
Genocide is othering some other people, and you want to wipe those people off. Yeah.
And if we're not careful, I think people will always feel that way. Like there are bad things humans do that you could eliminate completely.
I don't.
And there are bad things humans do that will always lurk within the human soul.
I don't know if I agree with that because if you look at, let's go back to the genocide thing. If you look at some of the most savage, most brutal and violent civilizations ever, like Rome, for example, they would take over people, not massacre them. Now there were the Huns would massacre everybody.
The Romans might chop the right hand off of every man in the town they conquered.
The Romans might, in their later years, they would integrate them into the kingdom because they figured out that they could make a profit off them.
Right.
Right?
There's that story about the Mongols, right?
Right.
When Genghis Khan was like, we conquered China. I want to kill everybody in China and burn the buildings and raise a pasture for my horses all over China.
Right.
And somebody said, if you leave them alive, you can tax them and get a lot of money. And he was like, hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, let's leave them alive then.
I don't know how true that is, but,
So what I'm saying is I think there is something to what you're saying. There's a savage lurking below all of our kind manners
monsters
and
from
so
the
forth.
id.
Yeah. And I think it shows up in various ways. And for some people, they become, serial killers or maybe domestic abusers or whatever it happens to be. And for Bill Cosby, it showed up in this particular way.
Right.
I mean, it is a sociopathic behavior when you cannot feel empathy or you have no feelings for anybody else outside of yourself.
Right.
And he's
It's interesting how it ties into what we said about Renault.
Yeah.
This is not Me Too.
Yeah.
This is beyond Me Too.
Yeah.
This is rape.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a deep
it's
crime.
beyond that.
This
He's
is
doing it in front of her fiancé.
Her husband. Already.
Right,
I mean, that matters,
yeah.
but
But I mean, he's doing it right in front of her.
No, he was supposed to never learn about it, but it was.
But I mean, it's that's right. He can never know about that. He's so young.
He's just a child.
Yeah, he's
in
just
so
a
many
child.
ways.
Yeah, in so many ways. So. There's that feeling where you just have it's almost contempt for your fellow people.
Well, this is what I'm saying about the difference. There's a difference between like bad things about human civilization, and then there's things that are bad that are rooted in mankind.
Yeah.
And this kind of predatory male sexuality, unfortunately, is rooted in mankind. You're just always going to have to create social structures to fight against this. This is always going to be there. There's like different kinds of things. It's like I'm trying to think of a crime that like you wouldn't really think of. I don't know. There's just certain things that if you got rid of them, they'd be gone forever. And then there's other things that will always crop up in humans. Whenever you get a human society together, there will be people that will.
Yeah.
There will always be men who want, sex to the extent that they'll do terrible things to get it.
Right.
I think you'd have to genetically rewrite people. So
Yeah.
you're always going to have to come up with social structures to stop that.
Right.
And any society that pretends that doesn't exist, it's going to run rampant.
Right.
Now this is obviously criminal, way to the side of the spectrum in terms of what people will do. As far as I'm concerned,
Right.
You're just always going to have to guard against this kind of thing.
So how do you measure this? So let's do a surprise.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, my only surprise was sort of to put into perspective how long his career was and how many things. As I read through his Wikipedia article, I was like, oh right, picture pages and Fat Albert. And there was a Cosby Show in the 60s and I Spy. And then I forgot about it. He was in a couple of movies. He was in like Jack and Leonard Part 6 and things like that. He did have sort of an abortive film career.
Right.
And then the Cosby Show and how huge that was. And then other iterations of the Cosby Show. And just what we're talking about a 50-year career. It wasn't a surprise, but to have it quantified for me like that was kind of like impressive to me.
Right.
I was like, wow, this is really not just some tangential figure like Louis C.K.
yeah.
getting canceled. This is a major American figure getting canceled. Not canceled is the wrong word. This is a criminal who should be extracted.
Well, no, canceled is like literally what happened to him, but I think the circumstances are different.
The circumstances are completely
and that's why I say you
different,
put everybody. If you put #MeToo and you put everybody in the same bucket,
You cannot go back and listen to this album and pretend this guy's not a criminal.
I think by doing that, saying #MeToo or whatever, I think what that does is it magnifies. All I'm saying is that there are lesser degrees of the Me Too.
Of course.
And when you put them all in the same bucket,
Yeah.
you say Bill Cosby, Me Too.
Yeah.
This guy, Me Too. Bill Cosby is not Me Too. Bill Cosby is criminal. The problem with Bill Cosby is the complexity because the American Dad thing. So you've got a black man who is elevated to the stature of all Americans' dad. That should be celebrated. That should be amazing, right?
Well, part of
that amazing triumphal story, but the downfall, it makes it even worse, right? And then on top of that, you've got the sanctimony, as you mentioned, of lecturing
Right.
Black Americans.
Right.
Youth, you should pull up your pants.
And none of these
you should
none
talk
of these
right,
poor kids,
blah, blah, blah.
None of these poor kids with bad grammar with their pants on the ground ever did anything half as
they
bad
didn't
as what Bill Cosby did.
Lewd
right?
and rape women.
Kids that are going out, hanging out with their friends and talking too loud in public are nowhere near as guilty.
Right. And so you've got that aspect. You've got so many layers. Once he's dead, there'll be a tragedy.
He's 84.
Yeah.
The day is upon us. He's not going to last much
There'll
longer.
be a tragedy written, a biopic.
Yeah.
Written, and it'll be the tragedy of Bill Cosby or something like that. And it truly is a tragedy because clearly there's something wrong with him. That's real. He can't even recognize it. That's how bad it is. He can sit in court and say, well, they wanted it. There's nothing wrong with what I did. When everybody's like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah. No,
and
I don't.
So
exactly.
Anyway, so how do you measure this album? So we're looking at the album that you suggested.
So I was thinking about this.
How do we measure this?
I was thinking about, like I said,
album?
with Thriller. I can listen to Thriller and can just be like, terrific album.
Right.
And then later I'll be like, oh, right, Michael Jackson turns out to be a horrible person. I could watch The Cosby Show today and laugh.
Yeah.
And then say to myself, oh, right, Bill Cosby turned out to be a really terrible person. That does kind of ruin it for me. I would never show I show my kids old shows sometimes.
Yeah.
I would never show my kids The Cosby Show, regardless of how funny it was. A really good show. Cute show with the kids, and everybody, Rudy, and, it was just a great show.
Sure.
But I couldn't show that to my kids in good conscience today and then have them find out later, why the hell did my dad show me something that this guy did?
I don't think you can find it anyway. I think it's been pulled
Well, that's
from
true.
everywhere.
It's been pulled from a lot of things, which is crazy because
I know it was on
huge.
everywhere.
It was
wasn't
the number one show in
Yeah.
America from 1985 to 1989.
Right.
Meaning it was bigger than Night Court and Cheers and everything else that we grew up with that you could still find.
And then it
today,
became syndicated.
And then it was syndicated.
It was reruns
right.
all over the
right.
place. Yeah.
And I probably watched. Honestly, I was never allowed to control what was on TV during prime time when I was a kid, so I only watched these things as syndication. So sometimes we talk about shows, and I realize I never like Airwolf.
You never watched Airwolf?
Never got to watch Airwolf.
Oh,
my friends would talk about it all the time. My dad would never let me turn
Terrible
the TV
show,
on
but
to watch Airwolf.
it was when you were a little kid. It was great.
I watched the heck out of Three's Company
Yeah.
while Airwolf was on. Well, Three's Company, pretty good show. So it's not that bad. It's not that bad of a trade-off. But anyway, I just think that this is a criminality. This is not getting Me Too'd.
Yeah.
Which is there's always a little bit of gray area about how I feel about Aziz Ansari on one end and Louis C.K. and Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein's closer to this.
Yeah.
It's on a spectrum.
Agreed.
If it was like a spectrum of 1 to 10, I'd put Aziz Ansari to 2, Louis C.K. to 5, Weinstein at an 8, and this is a 10.
I don't know if it's anyway.
This is criminal conduct.
This is this is off.
And
a
he's
scale.
admitted to the criminal
This is
conduct.
off a scale. That's what I'm saying. This isn't a Me Too. This is off a scale. This is beyond it.
Right.
Right. This is not.
No one in America ever thought this behavior was okay.
No.
Even our grandfathers
No.
wouldn't have thought this was
no,
okay.
Of course.
So
even your grandfather wouldn't have thought this was okay. Even your grandfather.
yeah, I mean, he's probably a giant horn dog, but wouldn't have been okay with this kind of
I had to
thing.
put it that way. Okay,
Oops.
it's my call.
Yep.
I can't toast this.
No, I'm not going to argue.
This
with
is a
you.
hard one. Why did you do this?
I thought it'd be a fascinating discussion, which I think it was.
Controversial one,
Well,
yeah.
it was also I was like, I'd like to do another comedy
Right,
album.
well, that's
We had
interesting that
fun
you
with
did
the
that.
comedy album, so I was like,
So was he wasn't caught in 2011, was he?
no, most of it came out 15, 16.
All right,
Is
so
where
this
it really-
is before all
is
that
where
stuff.
the dish
I'd
hit
like
the
to see
fan,
them
yeah.
revise that list.
I'm absolutely sure they would.
Yeah.
But I just Googled, top comedy albums of all time, and I was clicking through it, and this was number 1.
Wow.
This was not high up. This was number 1 of all time.
Interesting.
40 albums. And I mean, Eddie Murphy's Raw was on there and stuff like that. I mean, this is the great comedy albums of all time. And this was number 1, so I was like, I think we gotta. I know this is kind of dated. I know this list is dated, but like
that was a good call.
I think we got to talk about this.
Yeah, I'll give it to you.
This is an interesting.
Well, we can't. Did we do our biggest surprises?
I don't really have any big surprises here. I said my big surprise was just the extent of his career. Is not a surprise, but it was to have it put in front of me.
Yeah.
Was like stark. It was like, oh yeah, this is not
Huge.
just the guy who did the Cosby Show.
My biggest surprise
this is an American icon for 40 years.
He was like legitimately a stud jock.
Yeah.
And everything else in high school. He didn't finish high school. That was a huge surprise for me.
We're not toasting.
We're not toasting it,
Definitely not
so-
toasting this album. Unfortunately, and I think that we have to well, hang on. Don't drink. I think we have to toast the regret we have about what happened to this person that we thought Bill Cosby was. Almost like pour out a little bit of our drink for the man we thought he was and the icon that he was in the 80s and 90s. Because that man's gone.
Yeah.
That man's dead.
Yeah.
That man is a thing of the past. We cannot.
That's an interesting. That's an interesting observation.
I'd like to imagine this persona of, like we said, America's dad.
Right.
And I think that sometimes because of the crap history that we have in this country with black people, that sometimes we like really latch onto the idea of this is a black success.
Right.
This heals all of our wounds. We did this with Obama. Not that Obama ever turned out to be a bad guy or anything, but like everybody was really, really this fixes everything.
Right.
That this guy got to being the president. Bill Cosby getting to be America's dad healed all of our wounds in some way. And then this happened.
Right.
And you're like, why? Why couldn't you have turned out to just be a good,
Right.
and it's like this weird white liberal guilt thing where it would have been great if he was America's, I don't know. Michael Jackson, same thing.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson was huge, the biggest star in America. And then that happened. You're like, why? Why does that have to happen? Like,
right.
We need healing so much, and we need idols.
I don't know if I could toast that. I will tip my glass to that. I can't toast that though. I really.
Why not? What's wrong with that?
Well, I think it goes against the spirit of what we're doing.
Okay.
I mean, period.
Spirit of. Well, we're not toasting the classic, definitely.
Yeah.
But we're toasting the memory of what Bill Cosby could have been.
Yeah.
As America's dad.
Well,
if he was an 84-year-old man, Betty White just died.
Well,
and everybody was like, Betty White. Nobody has a problem with Betty White.
The problem with that, with that observation though, is that if we hadn't have found out about it,
right,
everything would be fine.
Right.
Could have still been going on.
Well, it's like the Schrodinger's cat is always dead and alive.
I know.
Bill Cosby's always a rapist and not if we don't find out about it. Bill Murray is a rapist and he's not because we don't know.
That's true. That's true.
Well,
that's
sorry,
bad.
Bill Murray. I love you, but I used you as an example because I'm trying to come up with somebody who I love.
I'll toast that. We do love you, Bill Murray.
Yes. Cheers.
Right. Cheers.
Cheers to whatever the hell we just cheers to.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us yet again on
a slightly dark time on Toasting the Classics tonight.
Dark Toasting the Classics.
Yeah.
And we will see you next time. I don't know what we're doing, but I'm sure that Dave will tell you.
We do know what we're doing. It's going to be a book.
Oh, yeah, that's right. What are we doing?
A book. It's a lovely book. One of my favorites of all time. Made into a terrific movie.
This is my.
This was Clint's pick.
Made into which of the movies though?
The first one, the 60s one.
That's a fantastic
really,
one.
Really
Yeah.
good. It's about The Time Machine by H.G. Wells.
The Eloy and the Morlock.
I think we could do any of H.G. Wells' works.
We could. I picked this. I got to admit.
We probably will
ladies
do
and gentlemen, I picked this because it was 84 pages. The last one I suggested was 522 pages or something like that.
Right.
So
he's guilt. His white guilt. His white guilt about picking too long.
White guilt about. And Dave gave me a bunch of crap about.
Right.
About why do you keep picking all these long books?
I didn't say keep picking. I'm just saying this is a freaking long book.
I know. Well,
the Toasting the Classics podcast opened with a choice not made by either of us,
which I think is actually
by
fitting.
A famous social media persona who shall remain unnamed chose the Gulag Archipelago.
1,200 pages, 1,800
pages in an unabridged
3
version.
volumes, right?
3 volumes. I read it for several months before we started the show.
Yeah, that took a while.
And I think I learned a lesson there.
Yeah.
Not to pick something that's 2,000 pages
anyway,
long. So
cheers to 84 pages.
I'm going to get you. I'm going to pick something.
Oh, God, don't.
We're going to do Moby Dick or something.
Oh, Lord, no. Not anything but that.
Yeah,
so The Time Machine. Join us next time.
Right.
And
Time Machine. We're going to go back in time, and I'm going to stop myself from talking about race so much on this podcast. Don't say that.
So many times during this actually even today's podcast, I wish we had a time machine. It'd be great to go back and sell some hash. So thanks for joining us, everyone. Never mind. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and we will talk to you next time.
Peace out.
Bye.
That's it for episode 40 of Toasting the Classics. For those playing along at home, look up the recipe for a time traveler cocktail on Schweppes.com for our discussion of H.G. Wells' original tale of chronic displacement, The Time Machine. If you'd like to get in touch, please send us an email at toastingtheclassics@gmail.com. Send us show ideas, comments, complaints, and your thoughts on separating the art from the artist. Check out my blog at theattractivenuisance.com and follow us on Twitter at @ractivenuisance. Our music was written by Michelle McArthur. See you next time on Toasting the Classics.